Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
It's Izaskun speaking.
Okay. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Fine and healthy. And you?
Me too. Thank you. Here in the northwest of Spain, we are quite well, at least at the moment.
Yeah, we too.
Okay. So, no, I can't hear.
De volgende dagen de situatie zal verergeren, zullen we dat niet vandaag aankondigen.
Sorry.
On sait que ça prend un certain nombre de jours pour que les effets du confinement et du déconfinement apparaissent. Donc à partir de demain, les jours à venir, on risque
No, I can't hear anyone.
de hospitalisations qui vont augmenter. Et la limite, à partir de qui se dire
Hello, Elena.
Hi,
Is that
Paula.
Lorena? Hi. Oh, you're nice, even with the earrings.
Yes. Dressed
Okay.
up for the.
Yeah. I have a problem because I cannot use the microphone of the headset. Do you have the
We
same?
can hear you well now.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Lorena.
Hello.
Hello.
Lorena, now you see me probably. But
Yes.
Can I use this?
Yes, you can. If you connect with via Bluetooth to your computer, or you connect with a cable. Yes.
I am with the cable, but I have to speak here. But I
We can hear you.
Eh?
We can hear you well.
Yes, but the problem is that I cannot keep this because otherwise I cannot hear you because the voice is coming through the computer. So I don't know what to do.
Good. But if you take it off, if you take them out, it will not be
but
working.
then
Ah, no, it's much worse. But you can put it maybe like you had on your.
Yeah, like this. I have to do this.
Yes, I think we can hear you well now.
But
Okay, we're gonna wait until 2. We have like 120 people attending, so that's great.
Okay, I have to test another thing. Now you can hear me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. I do this.
No.
Okay, so this means that I was testing the mute here microphone.
Okay.
So it is going through the headset. Okay, so
I am sorry to interrupt you. I am Lorenzo Morelli. I had days ago the same problem. There is a tab in the general feature of the Zoom system. You can divert the speaker and the microphone to another system that is called Realtek.
Which is called, Lorenzo? I don't understand.
Realtek. Technology, real technology.
Tech, okay.
So that means that the system is not able to operate here, so you have to you need to use another.
You can switch from for using speakers and mic of the computer to using speakers and mic of your headset of your let's say other equipment.
Okay, the point is how to do it. All right. Select the speaker. I will try to go to, so if you lose me, let me just come in again. I go.
Lorena, can you speak now? Can you speak?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you perfectly.
Okay.
Lorena, let's try again. I have the third option. Try again, please.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello, Paula.
Yeah, but I didn't
That's
change much. I'm still in the same.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Uh-huh.
What was Lorenzo? What did you say? ISST? I have.
You have several options. In my computer with Office 365, I have option near the tab of the mic.
Yeah.
And then on the computer, and then I can select the different output. The computer audio, the real tech audio. This is what I have in this system. And so I learned in the last few days, because I have to teach to the students, and so I have to learn very quickly, because the students are very able to use this system, that you have to switch from one system to the other. It is not in an automatic way.
Okay. Okay. Well, anyway,
I switched to another one now and hope it works. But you can hear me now, Lorena?
I can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you very well, Paula, so don't worry about that.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, let's wait a couple of minutes because we have 55 participants and we are 120, so.
Hello, Lorena. Hello, ladies. Hello, Paula.
Hello, Marisa.
How are you?
Good.
Nice to see you.
I have a question, if it's possible.
Yes, sure.
Hello. So
Hi,
as
Simona.
I'm participating, hello everyone. As I'm participating on behalf also of some colleagues, I just wanted to double check that we will receive the slides and maybe the recording.
Yes, I'm gonna explain this later on, but we are gonna have this presentation and also we are gonna record the session up today. So this is gonna be available in our website.
That's perfect. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I'm gonna allow 1 minute more and then we start, okay? We are now 70, so we are growing.
Fabio? Poi c'è pure Morelli di Piacenza collegato.
Okay, I think we can start. We are already 80, so we are gonna allow the other people to slowly join in the meantime that we make a little introduction to the webinar. So first of all, thank you so much to everyone that has joined today the session. Welcome, and I hope all of you are doing well, and also your family in this very difficult and challenging period that we are living today. So today's webinar, as you know, is to go through the details of the new call that have been opened yesterday to focus on the short-term response with innovation projects that could address directly the COVID-19 crisis and that could make a significant impact with products or services. From AT Food, we really feel a strong drive to address these needs, the COVID-19 challenges to the food system. and we really would like to work together with you on this. So before we start, I just wanted to make a few remarks on how the webinar is going to be taken today. As I said before, we're going to record the session. So the session is already being recorded and is going to be available in our website after the meeting, together with the presentation that we're going to go through. I ask everyone to have a better quality for the session, to mute your microphone and also to switch off the cameras. And if you have any question, please write into the chat, so that we're going to be collecting through the webinar all your questions, and we're going to go through them at the end of the session. So we are having a space specifically dedicated. So for just to explain a little bit how is the flow of the webinar today, we have an introduction to the call that Paola Giovodani is going to go through that in a minute. Then she's going to explain the challenges that we need to address due to this crisis. And afterwards, Elina from the operations team, she's going to go through the key elements of the call. And then Kerstin from the innovation team, she's going to go through the open innovation platform Hype, where you're going to need to upload your ideas for this call. At the end, we're going to have 15 minutes to go through all your questions, and we're going to answer. Okay, so welcome everyone again, and I hope you enjoyed the webinar. So Paola.
Hi, everybody. But first of all, I hope that the sound for you is better than what I can hear now, because you, Lorena, we are not very clear. But if you hear me well, Lorena, I go ahead. Okay, your voice for me was not always clear.
I can hear you well.
You hear me, right?
Yeah, I hope all the...
Okay, okay. The second thing is I'm saying hello like this, and then I will probably switch off because it is much better, the connection. And now we can start. So welcome to this special call. It is indeed a special call. It's not one of our usual calls. And there is a strong meaning behind that you can imagine from the title. We want to respond. We want to have a rapid response to the COVID-19 situation. And this is exactly on how and what and how can the EIT food community contribute to this pandemic situation. But also, I would say, in general, to a similar pandemic situation. So, so talking about this call, you will see here from the first, let's say, the first part of this slide, we are talking about a short term and also a fast track. You'll see the timings are very challenging. We are talking about a call that has been a project that has to be performed within 6 months. That means by the end of this year. So who are we addressing? First of all, it is open to all partners. It is open to the rising food stars. It is open and actually encourage a lot the collaboration with the risk partners, risk countries. And there is a special thing that Elina will also explain later on, is also open to external parties. What we want to address is the whole food system, so the agri-food system, I would say. And here it is absolutely needed a quick response because the subject needs a quick response. And we also want to address the consumer needs, our consumers, our, let's say, the European population. And here we would like to give the highest impact, so the best response we can give from this community. Talking about EIT food, what is still remains the same are our core values. So we want to have innovative, resilient, and sustainable food system. We are focusing on needs and concerns. So we really need to address clear needs of consumers, but also of the industry. We also want to, address a more resource-efficient, secure, trusted, and transparent food system. Also, of course, our strategic objectives are the same. And you remember, you introduced at the beginning of the year the focus areas, these 6 focus areas. And don't forget, we have also 2 cross-focus areas enablers, the consumer centricity and the digital transformation. You can see them here on the bottom right of the slide. But what we have to do today is the, let's say, interpretation of this with the new filter, with the new context of the COVID-19 situation. And in a way that we can answer this situation, but also possible future pandemics of the similar sector. And of course, the impact that this should give on the agri-food sector. Lorena, you can go to the next slide. Okay, so what do we want to achieve? First of all, this immediate impact, still the proposals that we expect should contribute on the KPI EIT N03. That means the classical one, which is a mandatory, the products or goods or services or processes launched on the market. And you will see later on how. And also the second one will be the number of startups created as a result of innovation projects. So this means, this is, as I said, fast track. So we should have solutions ready to be put on the market. And again, I repeat, solutions ready to be put on the market by the end of the year, or launched not later than middle of 2021, so Q2 2021. All what is studies or project plans or analysis, so if you simply take, for example, the public literature and you want to make a review, this cannot be considered, unfortunately, as a product or a service or a solution. So the meaning, and again, we strengthen the fact that we need to be, the project they need to tackle, let's say, you can use solutions that are at the high technology readiness level, so-called. We think that at the moment when you submit the proposal, they should be at least at the level 5 or 6, so that this can be easily and fast implementable in the coming months. Like in the rest of the project, you need to have a commercialization strategy in place, also a communication and dissemination plan. And there will be also deliverable to be submitted by end of the year. And this should include a clear, let's say, business plan on how you want to commercialize it in a canvas form, so not in a very detailed form. The next slide. Okay, and now we come a little bit to the content of this innovation call. This slide is a little bit, provocative slide, but this is how I see it, at least, taking, the whole history, prehistory. I think that this is will be a crucial milestone for the whole world. The whole world will see the things now in a different way. And this started in 2020, and how this will evolve in the coming months or years, we will see. But we are part of an important milestone of the history. This is how I think. This is my personal thinking. So next slide, please. Now, my task here was to give you some guidance, and this is what the next slides are purely to help you to, let's say, with your thinking, in which direction, in which challenges of the agri-food sector we can think about in this call. In order to do this and to put together these slides, I didn't have any study, because you know that specific studies are still not existing. It is too premature, and all the studies that are going on now, they are targeting more the health sector, the virus, really in the context of the disease. So in our sector, there is relatively less. But I could put together something, for example, from FAO, going to the national, let's say, association, the national institutions, and what is published, what was coming from, let's say, the publication on newspapers, and talking to people, talking to some of you, receiving your feedback. This is my, very simple interpretation of where we are, and I want to share it with you. Just to give you some guidance. So there is by no means, this is not, closing into boundaries or into silence. So the sectors where I could group, let's say, the biggest challenges in the agri-food sectors are the supply chain. Here we are talking about and addressing the disruption, the change in the consumer behavior. In our sector, very important is the food safety risk and what I call it improved nutrition. So next slide, please. Okay, so talking about supply chain. So here for me, there are like 3 levels. One, the first level is the trade model, and in particular how the dynamics are now changing into the international trade models, and also how this is affected by regulations. You have seen closure of borders, then reopening of borders, and all what has to do with, let's say, the transport of goods, of food, or raw materials from one country to another, but also think about import and export with outside the EU. So the trend that I've seen here, and I put it really on a very high level, is going to a more regional or local procurement. Think only about the story of the masks for the protection, you know, where we are at this point and what this has created at a worldwide level. But this can be also translated into our world. Think about the availability or of raw materials that are coming, for example, from far away. I don't know, I'm talking about cocoa, for example, bananas. This is what it has to be imported from outside of the EU. But we're also talking about the import and export, so the trade within the European countries. If this will have or not an effect on product formulations, I don't know. Probably you are the expert, but I just wanted to raise these points that I found on, you know, on the external literature. The second area is the area of the primary sector. We all know how this primary sector is affected, and this is at any level, from animal production, plant production, even the fishery, for example. There is coming from all these sectors, all examples of surplus of raw materials, surplus of food. So how can we reduce the food loss? This is one of the important questions, and what can we do as a community to avoid this? The second, let's say, point that I found is the need for an acceleration of the circular economy models. It means that also the circular, what we call it in one of our focus areas, this circular food system, can probably help and speed up this sector. How can we do this? From different angles also here, I want to, let's say, underline the digitalization. It is one of our enablers across focus areas, and digitalization can help at many different points on the whole primary sector. Online platforms are starting to pop up, and this is a connection, supply and demand. Going from simple platforms where they want to connect, for example, farmers with the end consumers, or simply platforms where we want to, they are addressing the use or the reuse of surplus of food. Important is also to highlight the role of education, but also of business coaching, in particular for farmers in this sector. The next slide, please. So the third area that I identified in supply chain is the area of transformation, so what has to do with the food industry. And here in particular, these big changes, you know, in production, and this, they depend on, again, on the demand coming from retail, but also all the changes due to the different ways of, so the reduction in the out-of-home consumption. So it has created a big change in the production, let's say, schedule for any factory in food. So how to improve resilience in this case? This is one of the points that I've highlighted here. Also here, as a second point, accelerate digitalization at any level, in production, in logistics, in inventory management. This is probably something that should be taken into consideration in the coming months and probably years. The need to create new products, is there a need, or to reformulate, but basically here use the surplus of primary production. I want to just mention one example that was on the news in Belgium, how the consumption of potatoes now is it's extremely reduced, and they were encouraging people to eat potatoes at least twice a week in Belgium. This is to rebalance a bit the surplus. But many examples, for example, in the milk industry, there is a surplus of 10 to 20% of milk. And here I connect to the next point. There is a clear need to have products with longer shelf life. This can be seen in two ways. Either you can simply convert material like milk into UHT milk, just to have milk that can be used also in the coming month. Or you can simply decide to create new products with extended shelf life. There might be also a need to adapt formulations, as we mentioned before, to shortage of raw materials, and probably who is in the industry sector and knows much better than me what is exactly needed. I see here also the opportunity to create new business models, and ideas of this, they're popping up left and right. For sure, we see that producers, the industry, tries really to reconnect closely with the consumers. Also here I highlighted the role of education and training. Okay, next slide. Okay, the next big point is about consumer behavior change. We all know, because we are also consumers, we are innovators, but we are also consumers, how our lives have been changed. So new consumption patterns, all what has to do with the home-based behavior. With the extreme cooking, we have seen what was going on in all types of WhatsApp or any other type of communication stream. I highlighted as a third point the new sterilized society. Sterilized society is a term that was used by Data Monitor some years ago to highlight the fact that it was the answer of the US society to foodborne outbreaks. And I think this is something that we could imagine in the future, how people will live, how consumers will live in the future. Sterilized is in the sense of this obsessive way of cleaning and being, let's say on the hygienic, let's say rules or practices. The fourth point is about nutrition that is gaining definitely momentum. People have more time to think how they what they eat. It is gaining also momentum. We see personalization and especially special attention to health. You will see also below, I have highlighted, but here also a point on food distribution and delivery, on the way how we, how we can receive food or buy food or let it be delivered at home. Decentralization, yes, because the local shops, the farms, people, we see, at least in my environment, how people, they prefer to buy from the small shops, and they don't rely much on the big chains. So they prefer to go to the farmer or to order at the farmer that can be delivered at home or in a special point of the town. Ad hoc e-commerce platforms, I think you know very well what I'm talking about. And again here, the opportunity to create new business models. Next one. Okay, also on consumer behavior change, I have addressed here the modified shopping experiences, highlighting through the e-commerce all what is the drive-through, the click and go, the last mile delivery. Most of the supermarket chain, they have created different ways to let's say to support the present situation, and in particular there are several actions directed to people in need, like elderly people. Prevention measurements and the social distancing, how this has changed the way how we can shopping. How can we, for example, reduce the time in the supermarket? How can we improve the way how we buy food? Yeah, this is another question mark. Need for more transparency and trust, yes. I think at this moment, and this is coming back a little bit to the sterilized society, so to the fact that we need more trust and we need more transparency in what we eat and in the quality of food. The last part of this slide is related to the out-of-home consumption. What will be now the new way to eat out of home, to eat in restaurants, in coffee shops, bars, etc. I think every country is adopting different rules, but it's for sure important for us to think what will be different, what will change, and is there anything that we can do to support this process. I've highlighted here the trend in neighborhood kitchens, when the citizens they create their own, let's say, initiatives, very local initiatives. Is there anything on robotization of fast food? This is another area to investigate. Also here, I think that there is a need for consumers to have more information and more education about what are the best practices. Next slide. Okay, here we come to a subject that I think you know very well. You know very well the bigger, I think, title, food safety or food safety risks. But what we exactly know about these coronaviruses, what we exactly know about the risk of SARS-CoV-2 in food and food-related environments, this is a question that I ask you, but from what I can read around, the only guidelines that we receive are also from the biggest international organization, are extremely vague, and they're simply recycling the existing, let's say, the existing know-how. So for me, you have to tell me, or you will let me know. But for me here, there is a big need to understand what is really the real impact, the real risk in food. What is the resistance of this virus? What is how long it can survive and where? For example, is it frozen food? Can still survive in frozen food? I don't know, a lot of questions for you, and you are definitely the experts. What are the prevention measurements? What are the hygienic measurements in the factories, in the food and related environments? And here I would like to expand this also to canteens, but also to small artisanal shops. So we don't know exactly all food which is exposed, starting from fresh food and vegetables, but also going to patisserie, for example. So to food that is exposed for buying is potentially under risk. So the need, for example, to have rapid tests and to have controls. Yeah, where can we act? I don't know exactly, but this is one of the challenges that I see. Inactivation processes, impact treatments, the need for more traceability, and I wanted to highlight it here again for what is fresh food. How can we protect this fresh food? What are the alternatives to packagings? And especially, now is packaging versus reduction of packaging for sustainability reason. Where is the borderline, and what can we do about it? Next one. And here we have the last of the 4 areas that I have identified, and this is the area of nutrition. We are, let's say, the owners of this area of nutrition. What could be the improve nutrition. So what can nutrition do to improve health and well-being? This is a general question, but in particular, in the context of COVID-19, you have seen, and probably 1.1 is the boost of immune system. There are different, and you know very well, there are different compounds here that can or cannot be used. We have regulation issues, I know, but maybe this is one point where we can at least brainstorm. The second point is definitely the nutrition for population at risk. Now, you know very well that if you stay 2 or 3 months, you know, in a house, if you are, you know, a person in, for example, age above, I don't know, let's call it the elderly population, there are some risks of being, I would say, under or not optimally. Not with, let's say, the right amount of macro and micronutrients per day. So here, what can we do, and in which way we can help this population? Can also be children, or can also be people that with this, let's say, lockdown situation, like with people allergic to food, you know, they were much more affected in the way how they could eat and what they could eat. The third point is also with a question mark, as the is taking place the telemedicine. What can be done in let's say the so-called telenutrition? Is there a way? Is there a need for telenutrition? Is there a way that you know, addressing, for example, professional, we can help to go to a more mass to go nutrition on the nutrition, the good nutrition habit to a more mass population level. So this is, I leave it to you here. It opens also the direction of, for example, having devices that can help to measure particular parameters. Again, I'm finished, let's say, with my part and with my content. They are all ideas for you. I know that we have very challenging timing, so I also would like to say that most of these ideas, they need to be already in a good process, and you will have for sure other ideas. Maybe you have them in the drawer that have been parked somehow from the past, that can be reused now and redirected into this present situation. So I'm pass now give the word to Lorena, and if you have any question, I'm here for the session on Q&A.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for all this insightful information. Now we are gonna move forward with Elena. So with the call process. So Elena is gonna talk about the call process and some information about that. So Elena, the floor is yours.
Yeah, hi. I'm also just doing a short video. So my name is Ellie, and I'm working with the operations team at TAT Foods. I'll walk you through the main things related to the how to apply for this funding, and I'll also cut the video and we can do all the questions and answers at the end together with Paola. Okay, so first of all, we encourage you to have a good read through the guidelines. It's a much shorter document than our usual call guidelines. So just a disclaimer that this presentation should not replace the more detailed rules that we have laid out in a document that is available both on our website. So that's more for the external partners and internal partners. So Lorraine, if you go to the next slide. Yes. So on Plaza, we have created a separate space for this rapid response COVID-19 rapid response call where we're calling for innovation projects. So this space is accessible for partners, but the information on both websites is more or less identical. So you can download both the call guidelines as well as the application form is on Plaza, and from the website, the application form will be accessible within the call guidelines themselves. Next slide, please. So who can apply? As usual, the call is aimed at EIT food partners and linked third parties. However, we're also encouraging the partners to engage with the external organizations. So these are organizations that are not part of the EIT Food KIC, that are not official partners of EIT Food KIC. Obviously, one of the biggest reasons would be to engage partners that that have complementary competences and profiles that maybe are not covered in the EIT Food Partnership. So you can choose how you involve these partners, these external organizations. One option, which is the main option, would be to ask them to become EIT Food partners. They would have to be, so basically if you're involving an external organization, or if you're an external organization that is going to collaborate with the EIT Food partners, you can be, the external organization can be involved in several projects, so in several applications. But you would have to then accompany, or you would have to do a separate application to become a network partner. So we have explained the procedure for becoming a network partner in Annex 1 of the guidelines. But it's a fairly simple process, but you just have to make sure that if you are involving external partners that you want to become an EIT Food network partner, they have to submit motivation letter and an application form along with so before the deadline of the application. So yeah, you can find a bit more details in the call guidelines, and also in the call guidelines you will have a link to the partnership policy, which is also available on our website. I think let me see. The main things maybe to keep in mind about network partners is that they do have a limited participation possibility in EIT food activities, and the EIT grant amount is limited to 50,000 euros. And also the network partners are supposed to pay an accession fee, an annual fee of 5,000 euros. There is, as explained in Annex 1 as well, there is a possibility to apply for a waiver, so for discount of up to 100%, I think, of this membership fee. But of course, this is all subject to both the partnership status as well as the financial contribution. This is the waiver. This is all subject to approval. So the partner is approved by the management board of EIT Food, and the waiver is approved or not approved by the partner assembly. So I encourage you to go to the guidelines for more information. Another way to involve, but this comes along with a lot of EIT or Horizon 2020 rather eligibility rules, is that external organizations or third parties can also be involved as subcontractors, or you can report the costs related to third parties as in-kind contributions against payment or free of charge. But there are specific rules with regard to this, and especially when it comes to subcontracting, you have to show that you have ensured value for money, or that you have adhered to value for money principles. I think those of you who have experience with EU-funded projects, and those of you who are partners of EIT Food already, you know that this is a fairly important aspect that is, yeah, that needs to be, even though you would, for example, involve them at the proposal stage, this still does not mean that you have achieved value for money. So in a way, the partnership format is the best format how to involve them. Yes, next slide. So the eligibility criteria, in general, the eligibility criteria for the CAVAs is the same as for the BP 2020 call, but we have highlighted a few modifications. So specifically for these projects that address the COVID-related issues, EIT was willing to relax some rules but introduce some others. So you have at least 2 entities. So the proposal has to come from at least 2 entities from 2 different countries. So the lead partner must be a core partner of EIT Food or a linked third party. So a network partner, which would be an external organization joining EIT Food, cannot be a project leader. So this has to be someone from the existing partnership. So for all projects, there has to be one partner that is taking on the responsibility to be the exploiting partner, or who is going to be the one that is going to launch the product, service, or startup, who is going to be responsible for launching the solution to the market. Yeah, so and as I described previously, the network partner application process must be started before, so you need to apply before the deadline of the application process, which is the 28th of May. Yes, next slide, please. So again, the detailed eligibility criteria are in the call guidelines. As Paula already mentioned, we are looking for projects that are having a significant and immediate impact. So the timeline is quite short for these projects. A few additional aspects to consider if we compare to our standard routines is that the timeline for the KPI EITN03, which is the product launched on the market, this has to happen at the latest by end of second quarter of 2021. However, everything has to be prepared by the end of the year. Some additional deliverables include business canvas and at least one project report that will be published. Again, so the business canvas is maybe something what you would produce at a more early stage, but this is something that still needs to be submitted as a result of the project. And also there has to be a communication on the launch of the project and its outputs by the latest by end of January 2021. Just next slide. With regard to some of the aspects that are mandatory, normally mandatory, but again, where EIT has been willing to be flexible when it comes to these rapid response projects, it is the financial sustainability. So the return to EIT Food from the proceeds of your products that you will develop or your solutions that you will develop. This is not mandatory for these COVID response initiatives. However, say, for example, if we have 2 initiatives of similar quality, we will definitely look whether or not either of them is proposing the financial sustainability mechanism, and obviously it will simply play a role in assessing the proposal, so you might have a better chance at winning this. The co-funding part is also not mandatory, but we're encouraging it. It's part of the evaluation criteria, so innovation projects usually have to have a co-funding of up to 30%, of minimum 30%, sorry. So again, this is not something that is required, it's not an exclusion criteria, but it's, again, if you wish to make your project more competitive, this is something you should consider. The budget range for the project is, we're seeing at 400 to 800,000 euros. And those of you, again, who are part of EIT Food already and with experience of previous projects, we have the KCA or the complementary activities, so kind of background projects that have contributed to this initiative that you are launching now or are contributing. This is not, so pledging the KCA is not mandatory, but again, it's welcomed. Thank you. I can do the next slide. Yes. So the call process itself, it's split in 2 steps. So first step, which is by the 28th of May midnight, is we call it the light proposal submission. So we have generated an an Excel template for proposal, for submitting proposals. So again, this you can download from either Plaza, or you will find a link within the call guidelines that are also available on our website. And this template has to be filled in. It has a proposal sheet, so it has several tabs, and it has one tab which is the proposal, another tab which is the budget, and a few kind of informative tabs. And this you have to complete and send to us via email. So the new email address for this call is 2020activities@EIT Food. And this should be done by midnight on 28th of May, so in a couple of weeks. And then the proposal, so as normal, all the proposals have to also go into Plaza. All the approved CAVAs have to be in Plaza. So the proposals that will be selected for the 2020 business plan will also have to fill in the Plaza proposal interface, and this will have to be done by 15th of July. Yes, I can do the next slide. So the evaluation process, as you see the criteria, if you've already had a look at the call guidelines, the criteria are following the same structure. They're a bit adapted to the COVID situation, but in general, the structure of our evaluation criteria is the same as for the normal call. The process will be such that so we receive all the proposals by the evening or midnight of 28th of May. We will do eligibility check. So proposals that meet the exclusion criteria will go on for the qualitative review. And so the proposals that will meet all the exclusion criteria will be also, we will inform EIT. We have to send a list of all the proposals for the pre-amendment review. And then we will follow this process up with the qualitative review of the proposals that we have received, and this will be done by a panel of external experts. We then will, so we will get to a certain ranking of the projects, and like in a normal call process, we will then have the management board, which will be doing the final portfolio consolidation, and we are expecting to send all the decisions out to the proposals or to the consortia proposing their project by the 1st of July at the latest. So next slide. So just a short recap of the timeline. We launched the call on the 11th of May. Today is the day of the webinar. We're closing the call on the 28th of May, which is a Sunday at midnight. We submit the list of projects for pre-amendment light review to EIT, which is on the 31st of May. In June is the assessment of the proposals that we have received, the eligible proposals, and we send you a decision on the final award by 1st of July. And the successful projects will then have 2 weeks to enter the data into Plaza. I just wanted to say that we've tried to keep the application form as much as possible, being kind of mirroring at least some part of the fields that you will have to fill in on Plaza. So it's not going to be total double work. So I think you will be able to recycle a lot of the information. I think, oh yeah, the hype campaign. Shall I talk about hype, or is this?
No, thank you. Thank you, Alina, to go through the main aspects of the core process.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Please do not forget to add your questions to Alina into the chat feature, so then we can go through that later on. Now I will hand over to Kirsty that will go through the HYPE Open Innovation Platform idea submission. Thank you, Alina, again.
Yeah, hello, everybody. My name is Kirsten. I'm Innovation Program Manager based at the CSC Central in Freising, currently making home office in North Germany. And I will walk you through shortly through the slides dedicated to the HYPE campaign for the COVID-19 rapid response call. So many of you may already knew HYPE. HYPE is our ideation and collaboration platform, how we want to support our partners to a way of remote working in these difficult times. And so we used HYPE already for the preparation for the ideation of the 2021 proposals. And yesterday we launched a campaign that is dedicated to this COVID-19 rapid response call. And you can find the campaign using the link at the bottom of this slide. And as Elina already mentioned, since we allow non-EIT food partners to join this call, we also allow non-EIT food partners to access HYPE. And the way external partners can access HYPE is via invitation by you, EIT food partners. And for this, you have to send an email to us to openinnovation@eitfood.eu, where you provide us with details of the external organization, the name, for example, the contact person, the email address, and who will be the person who should have link to the HYPE platform. Can I have the next slide, please?
Sorry, it just doesn't go. 1 second.
Okay, maybe it's a good time to introduce our new colleague, Sumita.
Okay, now.
Sumita, she is supporting the innovation team as of this week. She is a technology professional. She's active in the open innovation space. She's helping innovators and innovation seekers to connect and to collaborate. And for the HYPE campaign, she will be here to address your queries, to foster your interactions, and also to make collaborations possible between current EIT food partners and potential new network partners. And she's going to manage the community. So if you launch an idea on HYPE, she will be the person who is going to be in contact for you. For those who have not yet worked in HYPE, I will just walk you quickly through how the ideation in HYPE works. On the top left, when you enter the HYPE platform, you will come across the campaign, which is called EIT Food COVID-19 Rapid Response Call for Innovation Projects. And if you click on that one, you will guide it to the page that is also giving you more information on the call, that is also showing you the call guidelines again, but is also showing you the Excel template that needs to be submitted as type of proposal submission. And when you then click on submit your idea here, you will come to the template on the right hand side, where you have to fill out some information such as the general title, some information about the idea itself, the challenge that you are addressing. It can be one of the challenges that Paola has explained earlier, but you're also free to come up with an entirely new challenge, and then you will be asked to define this new challenge there. And when you then click on ID submission, everybody who has access to this HYPE campaign can then view your ID like it is shown on the left-hand bottom side. This is just an example of an older campaign on alternative proteins. We don't yet have IDs for this new campaign, so when you see the picture in the middle, you see that there will be different IDs showing up in the next time. When you click on the IDs, you can see the information of the IDs, and you are very welcome to comment to these IDs, for example, and give information or your thoughts on them, but you can also say, I'm very interested in the ID, please, I would like to collaborate. And this is our way for you to connect with each other. So we encourage you then to continue the discussion yourself and then see if you make a good match for a collaboration or to working on this ID. At this point, I would also like to point out that the use of HYPE is no prerequisite for you for the submission of a proposal. This is simply a means for you to ideate, to meet, and to collaborate. And using HYPE also does not mean that you must not fill out the Excel file and send the Excel file to the email address that Elina showed us earlier. Also, what I would like to tell you that if you don't yet have access to HYPE, please contact this Open Innovation email address and we can grant you access. What else can I say? If we grant external companies access to HYPE, they will only be able to view this specific campaign dedicated to COVID-19. So they will not see any other campaigns or information on HYPE. This is really a very discreet and close circle of members who have access to this HYPE campaign, and externals can not see any other campaigns. We will, for those who need more information on the use of HYPE, we will have a link for a webinar that is specifically dedicated to HYPE, launched on Plaza, as well on the HYPE website, but also on the IT Food website, so that you can have more information in general about HYPE. And with this, I'm handing over to Lorena, and I'm happy to address your questions in the Q&A session.